Here we go.
You're now tuned into Psych's weekly Nerf dosage.
Hey, what's up, good people? Welcome to episode 138 of pwned. This episode basically is me killing two birds with one stone because I realized that I never shared this Stryfe with you guys. I mean, I think I did the yellow colored Stryfe, but not these new furniture that I have for the Stryfe. And this is a new different front attachment. It's actually been sitting in my storage space for a little while. I've always wanted to do a video on this, but I never really had the chance to. Recently, I actually received an XSW AutoStryfe kit that's from China, but Enoch JK, I think that's how his name is pronounced. He actually shipped one of those XSW kits to me for review, and I decided it would be a good time for me to show off this Stryfe and also to do a review. Now that kit is pretty cool actually. It comes with like a battery holder and everything that you need, and the most amazing thing about it is that it's not 3D printed at all. It's all molded. So actually I have an installation video, but take note that at first I wanted to install it in its stock form, meaning to say that I have to have an extra battery pack on the outside of the Stryfe, because they actually provide you with an extra battery holder that goes onto a side rail or something like that. But halfway through I had this little epiphany or eureka moment, and I decided, I want to try something different. So anyway, check out that segment and you realize how simple it is to install the kit. Here we go. What we have laid out here is all of the items that were packaged in my XSW AutoStryfe kit. Now I'm going to start from the left. This is I think you call it an ANPEQ or ANPEQ 15 laser painter, but it's actually a battery case. As you can hear, it's completely hollow. You can remove parts and everything. It's meant for you to actually store your batteries inside, and it comes with a bunch of like hex keys, and then you have like 3 hex screws over here. Just remove it. It's a battery case, and you can attach it onto any Picatinny rail. So I thought that was really cool. Also, you have a sticker sheet that goes onto this guy, and then I have like this battery housing which holds 2 AA batteries, and there's you can see the battery connector as well, and this slots inside this guy perfectly. Then we have like a bunch of other stuff. I don't even really know where this black ring is from, but this gear or piston is actually pulled out from the motor over here, and I have a trigger return spring that you're supposed to add to your Stryfe. Now next up is a replacement pusher piece, and you can see this pusher piece actually has teeth and everything, and this is completely molded. As you can see, it's really solid, and the teeth are actually pretty well made, so you're not gonna worry about the teeth breaking anytime soon, okay, because there's not much of torque, okay. Then next is of course the whole main pusher system, and I believe that actually it might come disassembled for you guys, I don't know, but it's just a 130 size motor and it's already been soldered in. And you have this little rubber, a rubber strap that holds this into place, and you can see there's a slight opening over here, but that's okay because this is not 3D printed. This is molded also, by the way, and you can see that this part is actually held in by a screw and a nut, and this fits into your Stryfe perfectly. It's supposed to fit in this way. This is also screwed into place, so that's not going to be a problem. It's just not going to fall out. It's a really good, well-made piece. This is also molded. Everything's molded. It's crazy. And then this whole loom set, and I believe that being connected to the micro switch over here, I believe that this actually is set up for one of those motor braking kind of systems, so that the moment you let go, it would stop revolving, so it won't have a slow spin down. I think that's really important because this is gonna be, gonna be moving up and down, pushing your darts, and you want it to immediately stop when you release the trigger. I don't know if I'll be using this guy, although this is really cool because I'm actually using an orange Stryfe and I want to make it look as stock as possible on the outside. So by having this guy with wires running on the outside, because if you're going to use this guy, you're supposed to have the wires running out of the shell, kind of like if you were to make a hole somewhere here or something, and then usually the attachment is here, so it's going to be like this with the wires running through this slot over here on the inside, so it goes in. And then I don't want to use this right now. I think I want to save this for a different project. So this is actually amazing. It comes together with everything. I think it's really cool. I might just stick the stickers when I'm free, but I'll put this aside. And I'll put this battery housing aside as well. The intention is actually for you to power up your Stryfe motors with a separate power source, and then power up this pusher motor with this power source. So it's 2 different power sources, but what I want to do is actually I want to go ahead and run everything from a single power source, and I'm intending to use a 2S battery because I don't want the rate of fire to be too high, to a point that is uncontrollable. The downside of this kit is that the ROF is solely based on the voltage that you're running the system with. Like for example, if I'm gonna run it on a 7.4 volt system, I'm gonna get certain performance, but if I run it on, say for example, an 11.1 volt system, then I'm gonna get even higher rate of fire, and I don't want the rate of fire to be too high. And this is a stock Stryfe, completely stock. I went out and I bought this Stryfe just so I could install this kit. So I've already undid all the screws. I'm gonna just open up the blaster. For safekeeping, this guy don't fly everywhere, this guy don't fly everywhere. Alright, so this is gonna sit up here. So what you're gonna have to do is to remove this thermistor set over here. Let me just get rid of this jam door and let me remove the trigger system. So all you gotta do is undo this screw over here and then remove this trigger system and leave the retention spring in place like that. Alright, whatever I just said before about my intention for this kit, screw all of that. I just suddenly had this really interesting idea and I wanted to just go ahead and do it because I know it's possible. As you can see, this is another stock Stryfe minus this. Okay, this is Gavin's 3D printed mag release lever, but this is a stock Stryfe. Thermistors in place, stock motor, stock wiring system. I got the stock switch here, and one more here, but there's another mod done to this thing. Not really a mod, but basically I just put a piece of foam here so that this is always depressed. So do you consider that a mod or not? I don't know, but I'm going to install the screws back, because the reason why I unscrewed it is because I wanted to show you guys the piece of foam in the first place. This, then you can activate this. Earlier on I failed to talk about this spacer piece over here. What this spacer piece is, you're supposed to put it here where the pusher is supposed to go, and that's because this new pusher, as you can see, is narrow. Right from the side you can see some of the knobs sticking out, and it might slip up and down even with the screw on top. So once it slips up and down, it might actually do this like diagonally and then come out of the gear system. So you're supposed to put the spacer in here like this, and then you screw that down so that you'll hold everything in place, and it's smooth because this thing is also molded of the same smooth plastic that is this. Feels like Delrin, or it could be some kind of a nylon, but yeah. Right, so you guys are probably wondering what is my great idea. I decided that I wanted to try to attach this to this stock Stryfe, maintaining the whole stock system and running this off the stock battery tray. So that means I'm going to use 4 standard alkaline batteries, and then I'm going to have these leads over here, the positive and negative, leading into these guys over here. So as you can see, I already cut off the original battery connectors, and I'm going to connect them to these as well. So the 4 batteries will be running parallel systems, one to power up the standard flywheels and the other parallel system to power up this XSW AutoStryfe kit. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to remove this thermistor away from this slot. I'm not going to like break the whole circuit like this. This thermistor has to stay in place so that this is really considered a stock blaster. First of all, we're going to remove this screw right here and set this aside. I'm gonna get this spring out of the way, and you can see my soldering iron in the corner. I'm going to desolder this over here and then remove this guy and sit him on the side. Then I'll have to attach a piece of wire, or I'll have to just basically reposition this leg so that this guy is sitting in the back here, out of the way, so I can sit that whole AutoStryfe kit piece. Grab a pair of pliers and lift it up as I desolder the whole thing. Exactly like that. Now this guy is still an integral part of the whole system, so I'm just gonna try and make him sit something like that. Okay, and then I'm gonna have to solder him on this way. Alright, so that should be it. I'm gonna just solder this guy in place right now. Next, all you gotta do is just get a pair of wire cutters, and then you're gonna push one of the spacer out, the battery spacer I mean, the top one, and you're gonna make a cut on one of the knobs like this. Just make it flat with a wire cutter, that's all. Then you gotta install it back in place with a cut knob on top. Now when you're done, it should look like this. See? So that one's flat and the rest starts sticking up. That's because you want this guy to be able to sit inside, sit there and be flush. Now this is what I mean. Now you can see this guy is flush. Just look at the line straight across. It's parallel all the way, and that's because of that guy. And you gotta make sure that this slide is still movable. You know what I mean? So yeah, then after that we're going to screw that down. But before we do that, here's how it is. This switch is going to be sitting here, this slot right here against the wall, and it'll be just enough space just behind the trigger. We're going to solder the ends positive and negative to the respective positive and negative ends here on the stock battery tray. So this is the negative end. Remember, negative, positive. If you're not sure, flip it around and look at where the spring is. If the spring is on top, that's a negative end. So once again, negative goes on top, positive goes below, and we're gonna just run a parallel system like that. I'm gonna remove the trigger so that I can run all the wires in place. Then I'm actually going to use Goop to hold the micro switch in place because I want to be able to remove it in future if I ever want to undo this mod. Yeah, so I'm not going to like super glue it down or do anything permanent, just Goop so I can pry it out. And then I'm going to probably find a way to run the wires all inside here so it'll be neat. Coil it around here so that I can get rid of the excess wire and then solder it down. And that should be it.
A few moments later.
I'm done soldering and you can see all the excess wire all just coiled up in this area. But yep, positive lead and negative lead soldered into the battery tray on the respective polarity of the batteries. And also it's in parallel to the original flywheel system, so it should not have any problems. And this area here is a piece of masking tape on top of the micro switch because I wanted to hold it in place while I wait for the Goop to cure. Now what's going to happen next is I'm going to just put this guy in place, screw it down, and then I'm going to install back the new pusher and stuff like that. I am done! All of the Goop has cured. As you can see, I also put some Goop on this part just so I can hold the wires down. In case you guys are wondering how I actually got the Goop to sit there with the wires down, basically I just used some masking tape, stuck it on top, pressed the wires down, Gooped it in and waited for the Goop to cure, then removed the masking tape. Simple as that. But the Goop here is already cured. As you can see, the switch is not moving, it's not going to go anywhere, and this is where all the wiring runs. So from here, it runs in all the way to the switch, of course to this switch as well, goes up behind this part underneath there, and then around this area, and it's connected to the battery tray. This is already screwed in and it is sitting perfectly, so no problems at all. And in order for me to make sure that the wires don't run out of the coil, I actually have some vinyl tubing. You guys can see like a little bit of vinyl tubing, and it just sleeves and sits down there holding all the wires in place because that's like a snug fit. So I don't know how, but I lucked out on that and that's just working really well. So now what's gonna happen is I am going to install these AA batteries, and these are Eneloop batteries which are basically rechargeable stock quality batteries. As you can see, they are HR6s. Let me find the voltage for you guys. There, right there, 1.2 volts, 1900 milliamperes, and they're just basically rechargeable. So it's a bit less than your standard alkaline battery cells, but 1.2 volts is well within the stock limit. So in fact, it's under the stock limit. So I'm just gonna install this, and you guys can see that yes, the battery separator is still there and it still works. You can still shift it around. Now we got all 4 cells in. I'm gonna make sure that I push down this switch over here to simulate the jam door being closed because I have that lock in place, and we're gonna test out the rev switch. No problem at all. I'm going to install back the jam door so I can have it closed and making it be pressed down on this switch over here. Then try out the rev switch again. And then we're going to try out this micro switch to make sure that this thing spins. Alright, it's working fine. Now we're going to try it with both switches. So no noticeable drop in voltage delivered to either of the systems. That's just perfect. Turn on this guy, and then this guy. Absolutely no problem. I don't even sense any drop in voltage at all, so I'm very happy with this. Now we're gonna grab the pusher piece and install it back into place. But you gotta take note that none of the teeth here are inside the pusher piece teeth, okay? Make sure that it's free moving. And then you're gonna want to install back the return spring. Now if you guys are worried about having the return spring here and not having it return fast enough for the next dart, then have it on a higher slot like this. Then grab this spacer, put it here, and install back the screw. And that's to make sure that everything sits nicely. When you screw it back, make sure you don't screw it down too tight because too much friction means it's hard for this guy to move. As you guys can see, I'm having some problems right now. So I'm going to loosen it a little bit, and now this thing moves completely fine. So make sure you take note of that. Last but not least, you're going to put the trigger back in place, just like that, with this screw over here. Finally, you're going to want to get this return spring because this will help to push the trigger in front and keep it front and install it into place. Now it's funny, right, because they have a slot here. for a return spring like this, but no stripes actually come with a return spring like this because they're using this one instead. But yeah, here we go. All in place. This guy has to be sitting in its correct position for it to work. And because I kept the lock in place, there is no way for me to pull the trigger or activate the pusher motor without first depressing on the rev switch. So you guys can see that's a pretty good safety mechanism. But now rev switch down, and then we're going to turn this guy on. Alright, so that's perfect. And yeah, I don't know what to say. This is amazing. So anyway, you guys already know the performance of this with the flywheel, so I'm just gonna straight away go ahead and activate just the pusher mechanism. Here we go. So please take note, this is on stock rated batteries and it's a crazy ROF. Look at it. I'm pretty sure this is actually a higher ROF than a stock Rapid Strike, but here you go. Before I can go ahead and say, alright, this is a success, I gotta test it out. So I have with me a fully loaded 15 dart pMag from Worker XF10555, and we're gonna try and see if this works. Okay, so here we go. All 15 out. As you can see, absolutely no problems, zero jams. Welcome back. Now, one thing I want to point out to you guys is that if you guys are going to install the kit the way it was meant to be installed, in its own stock form, you don't even have to do any soldering work at all, because the battery holders and the motor system are all with the same matching connectors, as well as the battery tray itself. The new one doesn't require you to do any shell work. Of course, if you don't have side rails like these, you can just glue on that battery tray. So technically, you don't need to do any soldering work at all. Okay, just run the wires on the outside. It's really simple. But you know me, I just want to make it really clean for you guys. Alright, and the one thing that I want to say is that personally, I don't really like high rate of fire for full auto systems because I want to be able to control it a little bit. So I was trying to find ways to kind of reduce the ROF, but not in time for this video. So I'm going to give you guys a quick firing demonstration because this is the same Stryfe. You already saw the test firing demonstration, so I'm just going to do this just to share with you guys, and then after that I'll share with you about the cosmetics of this baby over here. Here I have a 12 dart clip, and the first 6 darts are the V3 or rainbow nipple tip darts, and the next 6 darts are standard Nerf Elite streamlines. Here we go. Just let the flywheel rev up and we'll just see how it fires. Okay, here we go. Oh, I left 1 dart, I'm sorry, I wasn't even counting, guys. So all 6 darts, or I should say all 12 darts are out. And you guys already saw the ROF, and it's still a little bit fast for my preference, but some of you are actually comfortable with that speed, and it really is just a personal preference kind of thing. I have another clip that is filled up with about 6, I think it's 6, yeah, 6 Elite Streamline darts. Now what's gonna happen is I'm gonna try to control the number of shots. So I'm gonna fire off single shots twice and double shots twice. Let's see how that goes, because you know I'm not used to the... See, I'm only good at like firing single or triple. Alright, then we'll get into the pros and cons of this kit. Alright, here we go, let's try 2 singles and then 2 doubles. Nope. Okay, that's 1. Now for a double shot. Now I don't know how well the camera is picking up the sound of the flywheels up, but you guys hopefully can hear that the flywheels actually loses a lot of its RPM with each shot. I mean, that's stock performance, you guys already know. So clearly this kit actually wasn't really made for stock flywheel systems. So if it is possible, please upgrade your flywheel motors to high torque motors like the Rhinos or the Honey Badgers or Hellcats, you know, something like that, because those would be able to maintain or at least gain speed back up fast enough to support the ROF. Okay, but that said, here are some of the pros and cons of this thing. Pro, it's really easy to install. Even if you're not going to use the stock battery tray and you want to wire it up to use a single power source, it's really simple to wire up because it's already made in such a way that, you know, you will know where the leads go to. Number 2, it really is a very compact kit, so it will fit nicely in the shell, and it's very minimal shell work, very minimal. Like me, or personally, what I did was I cut the top nub of the battery separator. But you don't have to, especially if you guys are using an external battery pack itself or external battery housing. You don't have to touch that at all. If you guys are gonna run on 2S or 3S LiPos and you have an extended battery tray, or you actually made space in the stock battery tray area, then you don't even have to worry about that part. It's just a drop-in kit. But the most important thing for you guys to know is that if you're gonna cut away whatever's inside of the battery tray, then this kit will not work. You still need that original housing. You know what I mean? Like, you can get rid of the ribs and everything and the ridges inside the battery tray, but you cannot get rid of the battery tray like how I did in my Galaxy Stryfe. You're not able to do that because then the kit would not work. There's no space for it to actually sit. Number 3, the simplicity of the system itself. It comes with everything that you need, and at least in my case, it came wired already. So it's really simple, it's really easy to understand, and I honestly didn't really have to refer much to the original XSW Stryfe or AutoStryfe installation page. So anyway, I'm gonna put a link in the video description for that so you guys can go check it out. Now moving on to the cons of this kit. The first con is a personal preference kind of thing. I do not really like the high ROF. Even if I'm running on a 6V stock battery tray, I still feel that the ROF is pretty high. I wish it was slightly lower because I wanted it to support the stock flywheel system, and also it provides for easier control. Number 2, there is no cycle control for this automatic kit. So that means that there are some times when you will actually face, after releasing the trigger, that the pusher piece will be stuck, extended out, and that would get in the way of inserting or possibly even removing your clip. So you have to take note of that. That's just, it's a 50-50 chance that it would happen. Okay, number 3, there are some minor kinks here and there, like for example the gear teeth. Sometimes the teeth don't align nicely because of the speed, and it doesn't push it that far enough into the flywheels. Now, of course, all of us have to take note that yes, it's a flywheel system, and you're not able to really use darts that are slightly shorter very efficiently or very effectively. But in this case, you're not actually able to extend the pusher piece, like how you would on a standard Stryfe pusher piece. You're not able to do that because of all the gear teeth and all of the other alignment, so you have to take note of that. For me, basically what I did was I tried to line it up in such a way that I would always make sure that the gear teeth would hook on nicely. So if you need to put spaces around the pusher motor just to make sure that it doesn't wobble or shake, please do that, because it's a really good kit, but it's not a perfect kit. You know what I'm trying to say? Yeah, so those are the pros and cons from my end. Okay, so different day, different getup, and that's because I was recording the previous part and then my phone ran out of space. So it's my fault, but anyway, now it's about a different part of the video altogether, which is the cosmetics of this blaster. And I think I picked blue and black because I wanted to kind of be able to highlight to you the difference in shade. This is blue, this is black. If you guys know, or if you guys follow, Magpul and all the other, I guess, airsoft or firearms makers don't really make stuff in this shade of blue. And that's because I actually went ahead and I did the whole RIT dye process of dyeing your Magpul furniture. Now I got myself a Magpul vertical grip, 2 flip-up sights that really work. Sorry, it's a bit tough, but yeah, they really work. Right, so flip-up sights front and back. I got rail covers here and on this side. I've also got a CTR stock that is completely working, as you guys can see, including this lock. Alright, so the whole thing is functional completely. And if you're interested in actually doing this whole dyeing process, you need RIT dye. And this is the exact shade I used. It's the Aquamarine shade. I used the entire bottle in a huge tray of water. If you want, you can actually use a pot. But if you guys just do a Google search, you can actually find out instructions on how to dye your Magpul stuff. Now the base colors that I use is basically an experiment, so I bought myself everything that I could find in flat dark earth or FDE. But somehow the embossed flip-up sights were of a slightly different shade as compared to the rest of the furniture, and these look a bit more tan than flat dark earth. I don't know how this will turn out on tan colored furniture, or even if you got yourself the grey furniture, but you guys have to experiment, I suppose. Different base colors will give you a different finished look. So if I ever were to experiment again, I might try it on a different shade. I might just get everything in sand, or desert, whatever color they have, and then I'll try and see what result I get. But I really wanted to just try and get myself some blue colored furniture because a lot of people online actually have done a lot of pink or purplish themed furniture, and I didn't want to do that. So I've been wanting to showcase this because I thought that blue and yellow, together makes a very, very nice combination. I mean, personally, I like the blue and yellow combination, so this is me doing it. If I could, I really wanted to get like a cyanish or very, very bright blue color, but that's not possible. So I have to settle for this, but the result turned out pretty well, and I'm very, very surprised at this end result. This shade you can see is a bit of a deeper blue than this. This one looks a bit like, I don't know, like a little bit bordering on the teal side of it. And if you realize there's quite a lot of scratches up here, and that's my fault because I was using a pair of tongs and it's like metal tongs, so it was sharp and I was like scraping the top of it, and that's my fault when I was flipping it around in the dyed water during the dyeing process. Apart from that, it's just a standard F10555 vector kit. Okay, not really standard, this is an extended front, it's a bit different, and I'm using the worker foldable stock, as you guys can see. Now the foldable stock folds towards the right side of the blaster, so if you guys are actually using thumb screws, or if you guys are using expanded battery trays, this unfortunately does not work. It's really, really solid, but it's a shame that it flips on the right side, because I honestly think that it looks absolutely cool, especially when you can actually collapse it like this, and I think it's really, really like sweet looking, and then you can just flip it out whenever you want a a stock. Coupled with the extending feature of the CTR stock, I think that this whole foldable stock thing is actually really cool, just really, really wasted on execution point. I'm pretty sure that worker did not intend for this to happen, but it happens anyway, so it's very, very hard to use an expanded battery tray. Unless, however, you're using the end pack housing that I was showing you guys. If the housing was up here, then the folding stock would not get in the way, and basically your own stock housing tray could just be completely empty, could be a storage point for you. So I think that, it's just really how you want to use it. But I like the way this whole thing turned out, and I really, really wanted to share it with you guys, just that I didn't know how. And so the whole XSW kit gave me a reason to share it with you guys. I do have to apologize, I'm not gonna give you guys a tutorial on how to go ahead and tint all these parts, and that's because there's more than enough tutorials online. And I do believe that I actually shared with you guys how to tint clear colored blasters. It's basically the same process, just that using red dye and slightly higher temperature water, you can actually do the same thing for these. Now, the only painstaking thing that I actually did was to remove and dismantle every single part of this flip up side, and of course of the stock itself. It would take some time for you to fit everything back, but looking at the end result and the way it performs flawlessly, I did not regret it at all. Yeah, so for some unique looking airsoft or military grade furniture, go ahead and try this out. These, of course, you have to get the polymer versions, don't get the metal versions, because red dye would not work then. Yeah, even on the inside it's completely blue. Hopefully you can see from the angle of the light, but it's something really interesting. And I don't know, I kind of want to scratch this deeper just to see if on the inside I get any color, but I'm pretty sure I don't, and I don't want to just make it ugly. So yeah, that's about it. Thanks so much for sticking all the way throughout, guys. I really, really appreciate it. I hope that this video gave you a bit more information, especially with the recent, I guess, progress in the Nerf scene with all the AutoStryfe kits, and now the easy availability and easy installation of an AutoStryfe kit. It just makes a huge game changer. So before I end the video, I want to challenge you guys to this question. The whole reason why I did that whole stock thing is because of, having humans vs zombies in mind. Now, most of the time, whenever an HVZ game is being held, the rules are for you to be able to use only stock blasters. Now, after visiting Melbourne and visiting Make Test Battle, hanging out with them, talking to them about wars, I found out that most of the war organizers allow modifications to match up with the orange triggered version, and that's because of the unfortunate reason that Australia receives the grey trigger version of the blasters that we have. So in order to make up for the difference in performance, against players who actually import their blasters from the States or from overseas to get an orange trigger performance, they allow modifications done to your blasters that will basically help you match up to orange triggered blasters. Now, with that in mind, if I were to add basically like this, make a stock blaster just have an automatic fire function, would it be considered stock or not? It is the question I want to ask everyone. Now, my challenge points to you are, if I'm able to actually go ahead and perform cosmetic mods, I understand it's not a performance mod, right? But it's cosmetic mod. However, performance mod also includes things like adding shotgun pumps to your retaliators or long shots, removing of locks. Those actually change the way you handle the blaster, change the way the blaster functions, as well as improve your rate of fire and make performance better in terms of handling and not actual range. So with the AutoStryfe kit in mind, if I were to add an automatic firing system into a Stryfe, would that be considered stock? Would that mean that this blaster is still allowed in wars? Is the question I want to ask you guys. Now point number 2, take an AutoStryfe mod that is running off stock batteries, okay, versus a rapid pistol. For example, if I were to buy a rapid strike and I were to perform the rapid pistol mod, so I would have to buy a rapid strike which costs significantly more than buying a stock Stryfe. Then I gotta cut the front and the back, I gotta rewire it, I gotta make sure that the wires, and the battery tray sits on the blaster somewhere, somehow. I might have to cover up the gaps in the blaster, it's completely optional, just so that I could have a pistol-sized full auto blaster. Now that versus this, I have to buy a Stryfe and buy the XSW kit and install it. Installation is simple, and the price of the XSW kit plus a Stryfe is still cheaper than buying a rapid strike. Just something that I wanted to share with you guys and something to make you guys think about. Now, please discuss. After thinking about it, I would like to hear what you guys have to say about that. Leave it in the comments below because I'm really interested in hearing everyone's opinions. Now, I don't want to fight. I don't want to start a whole war and a whole, beef and stuff. No, it's just good, clean debate that I'm looking for. I know that at the end of the day, all rules and regulations are to be determined by the organizers of games themselves. So it's up to the organizers to say. If the organizers say that, okay, the performance of your Stryfe doesn't exceed, a certain range or a certain velocity and it's automatic, it's fine with me, then by all means go ahead and play. For me, I'm just probably gonna undo this mod because I want to put this mod into another Stryfe. You guys already saw the orange Stryfe, so I want to put that in the orange Stryfe. And in the future, if I were to procure myself another XSW kit, then yes, I would consider putting that back in here so that I could have an interesting stock performing automatic Stryfe. Alright, so that's my opinion. I want to hear what you guys have to say. Please leave a comment in the comment section below so that we can have some good, healthy debate going on, yeah? And with that, we've really come to the end of the video. Thanks so much for sticking all the way throughout once again. If you like this video, I hope you guys give me a thumbs up. And if you're not subscribed to my channel, I hope you guys consider subscribing. So, till the next episode, guys, drills pay the bills and teamwork makes the dream work. I'll see you soon. Peace.